I falsely accused my best friend and destroyed his life based on a lie. 17 years later, the truth finally came out. What should I do? 17 years ago, I ruined someone's life. Not just anyone, my best friend. The guy who had my back since we were 7 years old. The person who knew me better than anyone else on the planet. And I did it because I believed a lie. A calculated, manipulative lie that I swallowed whole without asking a single hard question, without applying even basic critical thinking, without giving him the benefit of the doubt he'd earned through a decade of friendship. I sit here at 34 years old, looking back at my 17-year-old self, and I barely recognize that kid. I want to grab him by the shoulders and shake him. Tell him to wake up, to think, to question. But I can't. That version of me made choices that can't be unmade, choices that destroyed someone else's entire future. And I have to live with that every single day. His name was Jake. We grew up 3 houses apart on Maple Street, same neighborhood. Same school, same everything. Our moms were friends before we were even born, so our friendship was basically predetermined. We built elaborate forts in his backyard using old sheets and dining room chairs, failed math tests together, and celebrated when we both scraped by with C minuses. Learned to drive in his dad's beat-up Camry that smelled like old coffee and had a permanent dent in the passenger door from when Jake backed into a mailbox. We were the kind of friends who didn't need to talk to communicate, who could sit in comfortable silence, who showed up for each other without being asked. Jake was the steady one, the calm to my anxious. I was the overthinker, the worrier, the guy who'd spiral about every little thing. Jake would talk me down. Remind me that not everything was a catastrophe, that I could handle whatever was thrown at me. He remembered my locker combination when I forgot it every other week, reminded me about assignments I would have blown off, made sure I ate lunch when I got too stressed about exams. He was just that kind of friend, the ride or die type. If you'd asked me at 16 who I trusted most in the world, the answer would have been immediate Jake. No hesitation, no question, no doubt. He'd earned that trust through years of showing up, through being consistent, through never giving me a reason to question his character or his loyalty, which makes what I did to him even worse. Then junior year happened. Ashley happened. Ashley Martinez transferred in from across the state. Her dad got relocated for work, and she showed up in September like a hurricane. She had this energy that made everyone else in our school seem like they were sleepwalking through life, confident without being obnoxious. Loud, but in a fun way. Completely unapologetic about who she was and what she believed. She wore vintage band shirts from concerts that happened before we were born, ripped jeans, Doc Martens that looked like they'd been through actual combat. She had opinions about everything. Music, movies, teachers, the cafeteria food, local politics, and people listened because she was magnetic in a way most high school kids just aren't. Within 2 weeks of starting at our school, half the student body either wanted to be her or be around her. The popular kids tried to absorb her into their group. She declined, started her own group instead, just picked people she thought were interesting and decided they were her crew now. I was one of them. I still don't know why she picked me. I wasn't particularly interesting. Wasn't an athlete or a straight A student or someone with a defined social status. I was just a regular guy coasting through junior year with his best friend, trying to keep my grades decent enough to get into a state school. But Ashley saw something in me, decided I was worth her time. And when someone that charismatic, that self-assured, that genuinely cool decides you're one of their people, you don't question it. You just feel grateful. Looking back now, with 17 years of hindsight and a lot of expensive lessons learned about human nature, I can see exactly what Ashley was doing. I can see the red flags so clearly they might as well be waving in my face. But at 17, when someone that magnetic pulls you into their orbit, you don't see the warning signs. You just feel lucky to be there. Jake wasn't a fan from the start. He never said it outright, but I could tell. When Ashley was around, he'd get quiet, withdraw into himself, pull back from conversations. I thought he was being weird about me having another close friend, jealous that I was spending time with someone new. We'd been best friends for so long that maybe he felt threatened by someone else occupying space in my life. I didn't push it. Didn't make a big deal about it. Figured he'd adjust eventually. That he'd see what I saw in Ashley and we'd all become friends. That never happened. Instead, Ashley had thoughts about Jake. Observations. Little comments dropped into conversations that seemed harmless at first. She'd mentioned how Jake was always around, how he wanted to hang out constantly, how he texted me a lot for a guy friend, how some of the things he did seemed intense in a way that wasn't quite normal. She never said anything directly accusatory, just planted seeds, made observations. asked questions that seemed innocent but carried implications. Looking back, I can see the manipulation so clearly it makes me sick. But at the time, I thought she was being observant, caring, looking out for me in a way that showed she paid attention. Those comments stuck with me, burrowed into my brain, started changing the way I interpreted Jake's normal behavior. His regular check-ins became excessive. His wanting to hang out became clingy. His long-standing friendship became suspicious. I started seeing Jake through Ashley's lens, and that lens was designed to make me doubt him. The shift was gradual. So gradual I didn't notice it happening. Jake would text asking if I wanted to grab food after school, and instead of just saying yes like I normally would, I'd wonder why he was asking. Was it normal to want to hang out this much? Ashley had made it seem like maybe it wasn't. Jake would show up at my locker between classes, something he'd done for years, and I'd feel uncomfortable instead of happy to see him, because Ashley had suggested that maybe constant proximity wasn't healthy. I was being reprogrammed, methodically, deliberately, and I had no idea it was happening. The breaking point came at a house party in late October, Tyler Harrison's place. His parents were out of town for some conference, and he decided to throw what became the biggest party of the semester. Word spread fast. By the time Friday night rolled around, it seemed like half the junior and senior class was planning to show up. I wasn't much of a partier, never had been. I'd been to a few over the years, hung around the edges nursing a soda, left early claiming I had homework or was tired. It wasn't my scene too loud, too chaotic, too many people trying too hard to seem cool. But Ashley insisted I come to this one. Really pushed for it. Said I needed to loosen up, have fun. Stop being so uptight and boring. Said everyone was going and I'd regret missing out. Here's where I need to explain something important. I didn't drink back then. Not because I was particularly virtuous or making some grand statement. I just didn't like the taste and didn't see the point. Maybe a sip here or there when someone shoved a cup in my hand, but nothing more than that. I was the designated driver friend, the one who made sure everyone got home safely, the responsible one. That night was different. Ashley kept bringing me drinks. Cups filled with fruity punch that tasted like juice and sugar. She said it was special party punch Tyler's older brother made no big deal, just something to make the party more fun. She kept encouraging me to drink it, kept refilling my cup when I set it down, kept making comments about how I was being boring, how I needed to relax, how everyone else was having a good time and I was just standing there like a statue. I drank those cups because she kept insisting, because I wanted to fit in, because refusing felt like admitting I was exactly as boring as she kept implying I was. I don't know what was in them. Maybe nothing. Maybe just overly sweet punch like she said. But I remember feeling wrong partway through the night. Not buzzed or happy. Wrong. My head started swimming. My vision got blurry around the edges. My limbs felt disconnected from my body, like I was piloting myself from somewhere far away and the controls weren't responding right. I told Ashley I didn't feel good, that something was off, that I needed to sit down. She got immediately concerned, wrapped her arm around me, guided me away from the main party area toward one of the side bedrooms Tyler's family used as a guest room, helped me onto the couch in there, told me to stay put, that she'd check on me in a bit, make sure I was okay. She pulled a blanket over me, turned off the main light, left just a lamp on in the corner, told me to rest. I remember her closing the door. I remember the muffled sound of music and voices from the rest of the house. I remember the room spinning even with my eyes closed. I remember feeling scared and confused and not understanding what was happening to me. And then nothing. Complete blackness. No dreams. No sense of time passing. Just gone. I woke up the next morning in my own bed at Mrs. Patterson's house. No memory of leaving Tyler's party. No memory of getting home. No memory of anything past lying on that couch. I was still wearing my clothes from the night before. Shoes still on. Phone dead in my pocket. My head felt like it had been split open with an axe. My stomach was churning. My mouth tasted like something had died in it. I'd never felt that terrible in my entire life. I managed to plug in my phone and stumbled to the bathroom to vomit. Nothing came up but bile. When I finally checked my phone, there were dozens of missed texts and calls. Jake asking if I was okay. Jake asking if I needed a ride home. Jake saying he heard I wasn't feeling good and wanted to check on me. Other friends asking where I'd disappeared to Mrs. Patterson, asking when I'd be home. The timestamps showed I'd been completely unreachable from about 10:30 the night before. Until I woke up, I couldn't focus enough to respond. Just wanted the room to stop spinning and my stomach to settle. Took a shower. Changed clothes. Laid back down. Tried to piece together what happened. The whole thing was just fragments. Ashley handing me drinks. Feeling wrong. The guest room. Darkness. Nothing else. Ashley showed up at Mrs. Patterson's house around noon, let herself in through the side door like she'd done plenty of times before, came upstairs and knocked on my bedroom door. I sat on the edge of my bed with this expression I'd never seen on her face before. Serious. Almost pained. She asked how I was feeling. I said terrible, like I'd been run over. She nodded slowly, bit her lip, said she needed to tell me something. Something important. Something she'd been debating whether to say all morning, but decided I deserved to know. My stomach dropped. The way she was acting, the tone of her voice, the look on her face. I knew whatever she was about to say was bad. According to Ashley, she'd gone back to check on me like she promised, wanted to make sure I was okay, see if I needed anything. When she opened the door to that guest room, Jake was there, inside the room. With me, she said he was kneeling next to the couch, that his hands were on me, that he was trying to undo my jeans. She said she screamed at him, asked what he was doing. He'd looked up at her, shocked, and run out of the room without saying a word. She said she stayed with me after that, made sure I was okay, eventually got me home safely when she felt confident I could move without hurting myself. She said she hadn't wanted to tell me, didn't want to upset me or make me deal with something traumatic, but she thought I deserved to know what almost happened. What would have happened if she hadn't come back to check on me when she did? I felt like the ground opened up beneath me, like reality itself cracked apart. Jake? My Jake? The guy I'd trusted since elementary school? The friend who'd never given me a single reason to doubt his character? My brain immediately tried to reject it, search for alternative explanations. Maybe she was mistaken. Maybe it was someone else. Maybe she misunderstood what she saw. But Ashley was certain, absolutely certain. She described it in detail. The exact position he was in, the way he was kneeling, the expression on his face when she walked in, the way he'd fled without even trying to explain himself. Why would she lie about something like that? What would she gain? We were friends. She cared about me. She'd protected me. I asked if she was sure it was Jake. She said absolutely. No question. No possibility of error. It was definitely him. I asked if maybe she'd misunderstood what she saw, if maybe there was an innocent explanation. She got this pained expression, like I was hurting her by doubting her, like I was choosing to believe a predator over someone who saved me. She said she wished she was wrong, that she'd been second-guessing herself all night, but she knew what she saw, that if she hadn't walked in when she did, he would have done worse. She put her arm around me, told me how sorry she was that this happened, how brave I was for even listening to what she had to say, how hard this must be, how she'd be there for me no matter what I decided to do. She stayed with me that whole day, ordered food I couldn't eat, put on movies I couldn't focus on, kept reassuring me that this wasn't my fault, that I'd done nothing wrong, that Jake had betrayed both of us. By the time she left that night, I was convinced, completely convinced. My best friend had tried to assault me, had tried to hurt me when I was vulnerable and couldn't defend myself, and I had to do something about it. I need to add context here about my living situation. My parents had moved to Arizona the year before for my dad's job. Big promotion, relocation package, the whole thing. They'd wanted me to come with them, start fresh at a new school for senior year. But I'd begged them to let me stay. Finish high school with my friends, graduate from the school I'd attended since kindergarten. They eventually agreed, arranged for me to stay with Mrs. Patterson. Mrs. Patterson was a family friend, worked with my mom years ago before I was born. They'd stayed in touch. She had a spare bedroom and didn't mind the extra company. She was nice enough, made sure I ate dinner, asked about homework, gave me space to be a teenager. But we weren't close. Not the kind of relationship where I'd talk to her about personal stuff or serious problems. I kept things surface level. She did the same. But I had to tell someone, had to process what Ashley told me with an actual adult who might know what to do. So 2 days after the party, after Ashley had left and I'd spent hours alone with my thoughts, I told Mrs. Patterson, sat at her kitchen table, explained what happened, what I'd been told, how I didn't know what to do with this information. She listened carefully, didn't interrupt, didn't react emotionally, just took it all in with this calm, measured expression. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she said if someone had hurt me, I needed to report it, that this was serious, that I had a responsibility to do something about it. She said predators count on victims staying silent, that by speaking up, I might prevent Jake from doing this to someone else. She asked if I wanted her to tell my parents. I begged her not to, said I couldn't handle that conversation right now, that I needed time to process before involving them. She agreed, but said she thought I should talk to the police, file a report, get it on record. She said she'd support me whatever I decided, but that reporting seemed like the right thing to do. Ashley called that night. Asked if I'd told anyone. I said I told Mrs. Patterson. Ashley said good. Said that was brave. That I was doing the right thing. She asked what Mrs. Patterson said I told her about the suggestion to report it to the police. Ashley immediately agreed. Said I shouldn't let Jake get away with this. That he needed to face consequences. That other people needed to know what he was capable of. Looking back, I can see how they both backed me into a corner. How the combination of Mrs. Patterson's adult authority and Ashley's constant reinforcement made it feel like I had no choice. Like reporting was the only morally acceptable option. Like staying silent would make me complicit. But at the time, I genuinely believed I was doing the right thing. I genuinely believed Jake had done this. And I genuinely believed that reporting him was my responsibility. It took me 2 more days to work up the nerve. 2 days of Jake texting me, asking if I was okay, if I wanted to hang out, if something was wrong between us. Each message made me angrier, made me more certain. How dare he act normal after what he did? How dare he pretend nothing happened? How dare he try to maintain our friendship like he didn't try to assault me? I told him we needed to talk, suggested meeting at the park near school neutral territory, public place, somewhere I'd feel safe. He agreed immediately, said he'd been worried about me, that I'd been acting strange and he wanted to make sure everything was okay. The concern in his texts made me sick. The park meeting is burned into my memory with painful clarity, every detail, every word, every expression on Jake's face. It's one of those moments that gets replayed in your mind over and over until you can't tell anymore if you're remembering it accurately or if you've distorted it through repetition and guilt. Jake showed up looking concerned, genuinely worried. He was wearing his usual hoodie and jeans, had his backpack slung over one shoulder, looked exactly like he always did, like my best friend, like someone I'd known my entire conscious life. He walked up with this hopeful expression, like maybe we were about to clear up some misunderstanding and everything would go back to normal. I didn't give him a chance to ease into it, just hit him with it straight out. Said I knew what he did at Tyler's party, that Ashley saw him, that he tried to hurt me when I was vulnerable. The look on his face is something I'll never forget. Confusion first. Complete genuine confusion. Like I'd just spoken in a language he didn't understand. Then shock as my words registered. His eyes went wide. His mouth opened, but no words came out. Then this devastating expression washed over him. Like I'd physically stabbed him in the chest. Like I'd killed something fundamental between us. He said he didn't know what I was talking about. That he wasn't even at Tyler's party. That he'd been home that night working on his college application essay for Michigan. His voice was shaking. He looked like he was about to cry. Part of me wanted to believe him, wanted to go back to normal, pretend this conversation never happened. But Ashley's voice was in my head, her description of what she saw, her certainty. I didn't believe him. Told him Ashley saw him. That lying made it worse. That he couldn't just pretend it didn't happen, that I couldn't trust him anymore, that our friendship was over. He kept trying to explain, kept saying he would never hurt me, that I had to believe him, that he was home that night. His parents would confirm it. His sister would confirm it. He had proof, time-stamped social media posts, messages sent from his home computer. He could show me everything. Just please, please believe him. But I didn't. I was so convinced, so certain that Ashley wouldn't lie about something this serious, so trapped in the narrative I'd accepted as truth that nothing Jake said could penetrate it. I told him to stop lying, that I didn't want to hear it, that we were done. Then I walked away, left him standing there in that park, looking like his entire world had collapsed. I didn't look back, didn't let myself hesitate, just walked to my car and drove away, left my best friend behind, destroyed a decade of friendship in a single conversation based on someone else's words, based on zero evidence, based on blind trust in the wrong person. The next day, I went to the police station with Mrs. Patterson. She insisted on coming with me, said I shouldn't have to do this alone. The officer who took my statement was professional, but clearly skeptical. He asked detailed questions, wanted specifics, exact times, exact details of what happened. I had to keep admitting I didn't remember most of the night, that everything I knew came from Ashley, that I was unconscious or close to it when the alleged assault happened. He asked if I had any physical injuries. I said no. He asked if I'd gone to a hospital or gotten examined. I said no. He asked if there were any other witnesses besides Ashley. I said I didn't know. He wrote everything down with this neutral expression that I couldn't read. Said they'd investigate. Asked for Ashley's contact information so they could get her statement. Thanked me for coming forward. Mrs. Patterson drove me home. Said I'd been brave. That reporting, it was the right thing to do even if it was hard. That Jake would be held accountable if the investigation confirmed what happened. I nodded but felt numb. The reality of what I'd just done was starting to sink in. I'd reported my best friend to the police. There was no taking that back. Jake was brought in for questioning within a week. I don't know what they asked him or what he said, but word spread through school immediately. Our school wasn't big, maybe 600 students total. Everyone knew everyone's business. When the police questioned someone from school, everyone finds out the rumors started before Jake even got back to campus. He was suspended pending the investigation. School policy. They said it was to protect the student body and maintain a safe environment, while the authorities looked into the allegations Jake wasn't allowed on school property. Couldn't attend classes, couldn't participate in his extracurriculars, just gone. Erased from daily life like he'd never existed. The rumors grew uglier by the day. People who didn't know the full story filled in gaps with speculation. Some said he'd assaulted multiple people. Others said there was physical evidence. Others claimed eyewitnesses beyond Ashley. None of it was true. But truth doesn't matter much when rumors take hold. Jake's reputation was destroyed before any investigation concluded, before any charges were filed, before any actual facts came to light. He tried to contact me once, left a voicemail. I didn't listen to the whole thing. Deleted it halfway through because hearing his voice made me feel like I was betraying myself. Like I was weak for even considering his side. Ashley said that was normal. That manipulators try to make you doubt yourself. That I needed to stay strong. The investigation dragged on for weeks. Jake maintained his innocence. Provided his alibi. His parents backed him up. Said he'd been home that night. But Ashley's testimony was damning. She was the witness. She saw it happen. Her word against his. And I'd corroborated that something happened to me that night, even if I couldn't remember it myself. The school didn't wait for the police to finish. They expelled Jake based on their own investigation, said they had a zero-tolerance policy for this kind of behavior, that even without criminal charges, they couldn't have him on campus. His parents hired a lawyer, fought it, but schools have broad authority in these situations. The expulsion stood. That's when things really fell apart for Jake. The police investigation eventually concluded without charges. The detective assigned to the case called Mrs. Patterson directly, explained that they couldn't move forward with prosecution, that there wasn't sufficient evidence, that Jake's alibi was solid. That conflicting statements and the lack of any corroborating evidence beyond Ashley's testimony made the case impossible to prove beyond reasonable doubt. Mrs. Patterson relayed this to me like it was a failure of the justice system. Like Jake had gotten away with something on a technicality. I felt frustrated, angry, betrayed by a system that was supposed to protect victims. Ashley was even more vocal about it. Said this was exactly why people didn't come forward, that the burden of proof was too high, that predators knew how to work the system, that I'd done everything right, but the world wasn't fair. What neither of them said, what neither of them even suggested, was that maybe the lack of evidence wasn't because Jake was clever, maybe it was because nothing actually happened. Maybe Ashley's story was the problem, not the investigation, but that thought never entered my mind. I was too invested in the narrative I'd accepted, too convinced that questioning it would make me weak or naive. Jake's reputation was destroyed regardless of the police decision. The expulsion was permanent. College applications that had seemed so promising in the fall turned into rejection after rejection. Schools that had been interested in his grades and test scores suddenly went silent when they learned about the expulsion. The ones that bothered to respond cited concerns about campus safety and their zero-tolerance policies. Jake's carefully planned future evaporated in a matter of weeks. I heard bits and pieces through mutual friends who were still willing to talk to me. Jake's parents were devastated. His mom stopped going to her book club. His dad stopped showing up at the local diner where he'd had coffee every Saturday morning for years. They became ghosts in their own community, present but invisible, avoided, pitied, whispered about. Jake himself basically vanished, stopped posting on social media, stopped going to places he used to frequent, stayed home. I heard he was working with a tutor to finish his senior year credits remotely, that he was applying to community colleges, that his parents were looking at jobs in other states, that the whole family was planning to leave as soon as Jake graduated. They did leave. In March of our senior year, right before spring break, the house 3 doors down from where I grew up went up for sale. The moving truck came on a Saturday. I wasn't there to see it. I was still living with Mrs. Patterson, but my parents called me, said Jake's family was gone, that the neighborhood felt different without them, that it was sad to see such a nice family driven away by scandal. They said it like scandal was this abstract thing, like it wasn't a direct result of specific actions taken by specific people. Like I hadn't been the one who set everything in motion with a police report based on blind trust and zero evidence. Senior year ended. Graduation happened. I walked across that stage and accepted my diploma and pretended everything was fine. Ashley was there cheering. Mrs. Patterson was proud. My parents flew in and told me how strong I'd been, how mature I'd handled everything. I didn't feel strong. I felt hollow, but I pushed those feelings down, focused on college, on starting fresh somewhere new. Ashley and I both ended up at the same state university. She'd pushed for it. Said we should stick together after everything we'd been through. I agreed. It seemed natural. Now I realized she was ensuring I stayed under her control. We were roommates that first semester. Fell into a routine, classes, meals, study sessions, parties. It felt normal, felt like a fresh start. But the possessive behavior continued. Ashley would get upset if I made plans without her, would want detailed explanations of where I was going, would make comments about new friends, little observations that planted doubt, just like she'd done with Jake. She'd point out how someone I was becoming friendly with seemed fake, or how they were probably just using me, or how they reminded her of people who'd hurt her in the past. She'd frame it as looking out for me, protecting me, making sure I didn't get taken advantage of by people who didn't have my best interests at heart. And I'd listen. I'd pull back from those new friendships, keep my social circles small and centered around Ashley. It took until sophomore year for me to start seeing the pattern. I'd made friends with a guy in my economics class, Ryan. Good guy. Studied hard. Had a girlfriend. We'd grab lunch between classes, work on problem sets, normal friend stuff. Ashley hated it immediately. Started making comments about how Ryan seemed too interested, how the time we spent together seemed excessive, how his girlfriend probably didn't know we hung out this much. It hit me like cold water. Those were the exact same comments she'd made about Jake. The same insinuations. The same pattern. Taking normal friendship and twisting it into something suspicious. And suddenly, I could see it all. I started pulling back from Ashley, making excuses, building a social life that didn't revolve around her. She didn't take it well, got more demanding, more hostile, would show up uninvited to group hangouts, create drama over minor things. Our friendship felt suffocating now, toxic. I could see the manipulation playing out in real time, but I still didn't connect it to Jake. Still didn't let myself consider that if Ashley was manipulative now, maybe she'd been manipulative then too. We moved into different dorms for junior year. I claimed I needed space to focus on coursework. She was hurt angry, accused me of abandoning her. It was manipulation, emotional blackmail. But I held firm. Ashley and I stayed in touch but grew distant. By senior year, we barely spoke. She'd found a new friend group. I felt relieved to be out of her orbit. But I still believed her about Jake. Still accepted her version as truth, because questioning it would mean admitting I'd destroyed my best friend's life over a lie. I wasn't ready for that. The real unraveling happened during winter break of my senior year. I was home visiting my parents in Arizona for a couple weeks. Needed to get away from campus. Clear my head. Think about what came next after graduation. I'd driven to a local coffee shop one afternoon. Sat by the window with a book I wasn't really reading. Just needed to be out of the house. That's when I ran into Melissa. She'd been a year ahead of us in high school. Smart girl. Debate team captain. Now doing graduate work in environmental science somewhere back east. We recognized each other immediately. Started talking about where everyone ended up, what people were doing, who stayed in touch. Normal catching up conversation. She mentioned Jake in this casual way. Said she'd heard through the grapevine that he was working 2 jobs somewhere in Michigan, living with his parents. Hadn't been able to get into any decent schools after the expulsion. Had to start at community college and work his way up. She said it like she was just sharing gossip, updating me on someone we both used to know. Then she said something that made my blood run cold. She said she never believed he did it. That Jake was one of the good ones. That the whole thing never made sense to her. That it seemed wrong from the start. I asked what she meant. She said Jake had posted on social media that night, tagged at his house, time-stamped photos of him working on homework. She'd seen them. She said a bunch of people had seen them before Jake deleted everything after the accusation. She'd always wondered why no one brought it up during the investigation. I felt my stomach drop. Asked her if she was sure. She said absolutely, that she remembered because she'd almost gone to that party, but decided to stay in, and Jake had commented on her post about being boring together. She pulled out her phone, showed me old screenshots she'd saved from that night. Group chat messages. Jake complaining about college apps asking for help with his essay. Time-stamped during the party. During the time he was supposedly at that party. At that house. In that room, I drove home in a daze. Went straight to my laptop. Started digging. old social media archives, cached pages, digital footprints from that night. And there it was. Evidence. Clear, time-stamped evidence that Jake had been exactly where he said he was home, working on college applications, nowhere near that party. Which meant Ashley lied. Not misremembered, not mistaken. Lied, deliberately, convincingly, about something that destroyed another person's life. I confronted her over video call. She denied it at first, said I was remembering wrong, that those timestamps must be fake. But I kept pushing, kept presenting evidence. And finally, she broke, admitted it, said she made it up, that she was jealous of my friendship with Jake, that she wanted me to herself, that she didn't think it would go as far as it did, that once it started, she couldn't take it back without looking like a liar. So she just kept going, kept reinforcing the story, kept manipulating me into believing her. She actually expected me to understand, to forgive her, said we'd been through so much together, that our friendship was real even if the accusation wasn't, that it happened so long ago we should just move past it. I hung up, blocked her on everything, sat in my room for hours, trying to process what I'd learned, what I'd done, what I'd destroyed based on a lie I never questioned. Jake didn't do anything wrong. He was exactly who I always thought he was. A good guy, a loyal friend, someone who would never hurt me. And I annihilated his life anyway, reported him to police, got him expelled, ruined his reputation, derailed his future, let his family get driven out of town, all because I trusted the wrong person. I spent the next few weeks trying to figure out what to do. Part of me wanted to find Jake immediately, apologize, try to make it right somehow. But another part of me knew that nothing I could say would undo the damage. Nothing I could do would give him back those years, the opportunities he lost, the reputation that got destroyed. How do you apologize for something like that? How do you even begin? I reached out to mutual friends who might know where Jake ended up. Most didn't want to talk to me. A few told me in no uncertain terms what they thought of me. One eventually gave me an email address, said Jake probably wouldn't respond, but I could try. Said I didn't deserve his forgiveness, but it was on me to at least own what I did. I wrote that email 100 times, deleted it 100 times. How do you condense that kind of betrayal into words? How do you explain that you believed a lie without sounding like you're making excuses? I finally sent something short, said I learned the truth, that I was wrong, that Ashley lied, and I believed her without question, that I was sorry, that I understood if he never wanted to hear from me again, but I needed him to know I knew the truth now. He didn't respond. Days turned into weeks. I didn't blame him. I wouldn't have responded either. Then, almost a month later, I got a reply. 3 paragraphs. He said he appreciated me reaching out, that he'd known the truth the whole time, obviously, but knowing I finally believed him was something he said the last 17 years had been hard, that he'd eventually gotten into a community college, worked his way up, had a decent job now, a life, but it wasn't the life he'd planned, wasn't the future he'd worked for. He said he didn't hate me, which surprised me. Said he'd been angry for a long time, but mostly just felt sad about the whole thing, about what we lost, about how easily everything fell apart. He said he didn't think we could be friends again. Too much damage, too much history. But he forgave me. Said holding on to anger wasn't worth it. That he hoped I learned something from this. That I'd be more careful about who I trusted, about whose word I took without evidence. That last line gutted me, because he was right. I'd taken Ashley's word as gospel, never questioned her, never asked for proof, never considered that she might have her own agenda. I'd been so convinced that someone I trusted wouldn't lie about something that serious that I never stopped to think that maybe, just maybe, I was wrong. Jake said he wished me well, said he hoped I had a good life, said he was moving forward and I should too. And that was it, polite, measured, forgiving in a way I didn't deserve. He didn't curse me out, didn't tell me I ruined his life, didn't demand anything from me, just acknowledged what happened and moved on. I haven't contacted him since. Figured I'd done enough damage. He gave me more grace than I had any right to expect. The least I could do was respect his boundaries and leave him alone. It's been years since that email exchange. I'm in my mid-30s now, have a career, a life, friends who don't know this story, but it's always there. This weight I carry. This knowledge that I destroyed someone's life because I was too naive, too trusting, too weak to question the narrative I was fed. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel and help us bring you more and better stories. Thanks.